G'day mate, 40 here. I just finished listening to the audible version of Alex Isenstadt's new book, Revenge, the inside story of Trump's return to power. Strong thumbs up, excellent book. And I learned things from this book. So I also enjoyed Michael Wolff's book on Trump's return to power. This one seems to have much stronger epistemics. So here's a big difference between Michael Wolff's book and this book. Michael Wolff has a point of view on Trump that Trump's a terrible person and any collaboration with Trump always ends in tears. And Isenstadt doesn't have a strong point of view. Right? The story is the story, not his own point of view. Second major difference is with regard to Melania Trump. So in the Michael Wolff book, right, Trump's aides are always wondering, where's Melania? Is there any kind of real marriage going on here? And in the Alex Isenstadt book, there is a real marriage that's there. So in the Alex Isenstadt book, Donald Trump regularly consults his wife on political issues. So she advised him not to make his first post on Twitter the evening that Ron DeSantis made his announcement he's running for president during a conversation with Elon Musk. So Melania advised him that appears to try hard. And the book lists off several areas where Melania gives Donald Trump political advice. Not that it's always excellent, but he does seem to listen to her. And the book describes Trump as listening to other people much more seriously this time around compared to 8 years ago. So the extent to which Melania Trump is in Donald J. Trump's life, right? Completely opposite portrayals in the two books. So in Michael Wolff's book, she plays virtually no role in Donald Trump's life and campaign. In the Alex Isenstadt book, she plays a significant role in both his life and his political campaign. Baron Trump plays a significant role in Donald Trump's life and in his campaign. So he told his dad that he talked too much in his first debate with Joe Biden in 2020. He was flapping his gums way too much, and Donald Trump listened to him. He really prepared for that first debate with Biden. He did serious debate prep, and his team put out the message that Donald Trump wasn't taking debate prep seriously, but he was. But then when it came to Kamala Harris, he did not take it seriously. And the results showed J.D. Vance took his debate preparation very seriously. And J.D. Vance also learned to read polls and go through the crosstabs and go through all the details about how polls work. So J.D. Vance, apparently very intelligent, very hardworking. He became quite adept at going through all the details, the full Megillah of a poll. So he would talk to Trump's pollster John McLaughlin, and then he wanted everything, and he would spend hours and read it. He thoroughly prepared for the Tim Walz debate, and they decided to go against type, to not come across as broy and full-on MAGA, but to appeal to the center. And of course, J.D. Vance pulled it off. He worked out hard to lose weight. So apparently he didn't lose weight through using Ozempic. So Trump would rib him about his weight loss. But J.D. Vance apparently lost weight through exercise and dietary changes. Yeah, it was interesting the extent to which Donald Trump listened to his son Barron with regard to debate performance and other things, which podcasters he should go on. So he received an invitation to appear on the podcast of the Hawk Tour Girl, but it just never worked out. So just lots of revelations. It just seemed much more grounded in fact than Michael Wolff's book. It just seemed much more thoroughly reported. It seems like a much more respectable book. So Michael Wolff is probably twice the age of Alex Isenstadt. So I suspect that Alex worked harder, was much more journalistically and epistemically rigorous. And so the reader has the sense that Alex Isenstadt really pored over the facts and took great care with the empirical truth of what he was talking about. Both books essentially describe Natalie Harp and Boris Epstein as the two least popular advisors or aides in Trump's team. The book describes how Chris Lasavita initially tried to welcome Corey Lewandowski onto the Trump campaign team when Donald J. Trump insisted on bringing back Corey Lewandowski. But once they allowed Corey Lewandowski back onto the campaign, he immediately tried to take over, and he tried to get everyone to report to him, and he just brought chaos with him. And women complained about how he treated them, and he would flaunt his purported adulterous relationship with Kristi Noem in front of everyone's face, and talk about how he had his wife and Kristi Noem. They were all staying on the same floor as Corey Lewandowski. So Corey was just chaos. And once Susie Wiles and Chris Lasavita sat Donald Trump down and said, look, it's either him or us, right? Either Corey goes or we go. And shortly thereafter, there was an article planted in the Daily Mail, apparently by Corey Lewandowski, accusing Chris Lasavita of taking advantage of Donald Trump and earning something like $22 million off of him. And when that article came out, it had just had all the hallmarks of Corey Lewandowski hit. And Chris Lasavita had to get on a plane and fly to Donald Trump and go through the numbers and the paperwork to show that he wasn't ripping him off. And then on the night of the big Trump campaign victory, Corey tried to make nice with Chris Lasavita, who'd initially welcomed him to the campaign and tried to be quite forthright and open and friendly to him. But then Corey just stabbed him in the back. And Chris was like, F you, I don't trust you, stay away from me, you're not welcome here, you're not welcome on the stage. But Corey wormed his way into the background when Donald Trump gave his victory speech. Surprising lack of emphasis on how private polling showed Donald Trump with a consistent lead for a year prior to Election Day. And so the public polling would be all over the place, but why don't reporters spend some time pointing out how private polls are much better funded, much more exact, much more precise than public polls, which were all over the place during the election. But in the private polls, for both the Democrats and the Republicans, for approximately a year prior to the November 2024 election, Donald Trump had a significant, though small, but solid and durable lead in all the battleground states. So Donald Trump does not come across as a pleasant man to work for, but he does seem to have softened and to be just a little easier to work for than previous versions of Donald Trump. He needs to be a little more open to other people's point of view. But still incredibly self-willed. But this was a very stable, cohesive, and professional political organization that ran this last Trump campaign, is now currently running the White House with Susie Wiles. And though Trump is a chaos agent, he found at age 78 he enjoyed the more professional less chaotic operation. So there was very little backbiting or leaking until Corey Lewandowski came on board. So for a month after Corey Lewandowski came on board during the campaign, there was leaking and backbiting, which people warned would inevitably happen when Corey Lewandowski was brought on. Right? Some people just bring backbiting and nastiness and division and the destruction of trust and bonds and ease. So you can have 99 people working cohesively and effectively together, and then you bring on one person and it destroys the social cohesion and the social trust, destroys the team. Right? Just one person has the ability to blow everything up. And that's what Corey Lewandowski would bring. Also, Kellyanne Conway seemed to have wanted to worm her way back into running the Trump 2024 campaign. So a lot of successful and rich people, they are keenly aware of how other people want to use them. And Trump, as super sensitive antennae for other people trying to take advantage of him. The book describes the slipshod, stretched to the breaking point U.S. Secret Service protection and how the Trump campaign was not getting enough Secret Service protection, so it severely limited the type of campaign rallies that they could do. Though things significantly changed, not so much after the first assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania, but after the second one in Florida, when Trump was on the golf course. Right? After that point, Secret Service protection significantly tightened. So Kimberly Cheadle, the head of the U.S. Secret Service, tried to suspend Paul Curran, who was the head of Trump's Secret Service detail after the first assassination attempt. And Susie Wiles told Kim Cheadle that if you do this, like, we will go public, we will not be happy, we will make a big issue out of it, because the Trump team loved and respected Paul Curran, and they didn't want him getting the blame. The book talks about what a loose cannon Natalie Harp is, how that she would print out the most ridiculous articles for Donald Trump, and how that frequently torpedoed their attempts to run a professional, cohesive campaign, because she would, for example, print out these negative articles about the Georgia Republican governor, Brian Kemp, and his wife. And then Trump would go to Georgia. And though for Trump to win Georgia, right, he really needed to have an alliance with Brian Kemp, the Republican governor. But Natalie Harp, Trump's 30-something blonde aide, who was just unfireable and uncontrollable. She felt that she was only accountable to Donald Trump himself. She would hand him these articles that were negative about Brian Kemp and his wife. And then Trump would go off on Brian Kemp, a campaign rally. And Natalie Hart would reach out to the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, because she'd read something in Breitbart about how some of Mike Johnson's aides were not loyal to Trump. So she was a chaos agent. Secret Service had considerable qualms about her, how stable she was. But Donald Trump liked her, so nobody could control her, nobody could corral her. So when Trump was president in the first term, his aides went to great efforts to limit his information flow and to limit the type of articles that he would read. So no more articles from the Federalist and Breitbart. But with the Susie Wiles campaign, they don't try to limit what Trump reads. Still, the stuff that Natalie Harp would find online and then print out and give to Trump would just be a major source of chaos. So I don't envy the people trying to run this professional campaign. And Donald Trump's personal aide, Natalie Harp, right? She has essentially unfettered access to Donald Trump. She'd wander into his bedroom on one of the planes. Like, she would take all sorts of liberties that nobody else would dream of engaging in. It's interesting that Donald Trump's head of communications, Stephen Chong, seems to weigh about 400 pounds. So, talking about the new book by Alex Isenstadt, Revenge, the inside story of Trump's return to the White House. It's fair dinkum, right? It's down the middle, tries to be objective, just good, solid empirical reporting, good epistemics. Now, there is traditionally in American political campaigns a word that tends to make Americans come alive. So just like Christians love the word love, and Jews vibrate to the word justice, Americans love the word freedom, while Australians and New Zealanders, their political campaigns are over the topic of fairness. So what freedom is to Americans, fairness is to Australians and New Zealanders. But Donald Trump is bringing back fairness, right? Donald Trump's rhetoric, his White House communications, his policies, right? He's not promoting freedom like a normal American president. Remember Kamala Harris for about a month. Her first month, she was running on vibes and freedom. And then she would periodically return to freedom as a campaign theme. But Donald Trump probably talks less about freedom than any other American president that I can remember. Instead, he talks about fairness. And the way he frames things with regard to fairness resonates with a large part of the American public. And this is not typical, the most hot button, emotionally intense concept in American politics. Normally, the American political fights are over freedom. But with Trump, he's bringing it back to fairness. And it's working, right? Trump's appeals are, right, too many government workers are operating inefficiently, or they're taking advantage of the taxpayer. So we need to make things fair. And that's what Australian and New Zealand political elections are usually over. Fairness. Now, this is probably the primary moral value. So with tariffs, he just wants to make it fair. He wants reciprocal tariffs. So just as foreign countries, a lot of fire engines. I'm trying to do some high quality live streaming here with great wisdom and insight into the political, and these bloody fire engines are interfering with my high quality audio. So Trump has seized on fairness rather than freedom, and it's working, right? It resonates with Americans. Whew. So I got up about 3 a.m. this morning. I had my modafinil, had my coffee, prepared for my show. I think I went live just after 5 o'clock. Did my show for about 4 hours. Hiked Runyon Canyon twice this Arvo. So I've gotten properly tuckered out. I've completed listening to approximately 5.5 hour Audible book by Alex Isenstadt, Revenge, the inside story of Trump's return to the White House. Maybe I'll carry on some fruitful conversations with Grok. Talk to you later, mate. Bye-bye.